Tee time for the fourth and final leg of the FedEx Cup playoffs is Thursday from East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta, as the top 30 players for 2018 will battle it out for the title. We'll preview the field with in-depth player analysis, course knowledge, the latest odds, trends, and picks. And we'll take a bonus look back at the final Ryder Cup picks. And let you know about the new FedEx Cup playoff format for 2019 as Prime Sports Golf on Prime Sports Network starts now. You're listening to Prime Sports Golf for this Tuesday, the 18th of September, 2018. That's right, 1818. With Jeff Shane, Brady Cannon, and Joel Cook on the Prime Sports Radio Network. Prime Sports Golf is brought to you by ProGolfWeekly.com and Covers.com. Make sure to visit Covers Experts at experts.covers.com, and you can take 50% off any purchase by using the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. So it's been a couple of weeks, Jeff, since our last convo. I want to congratulate you on the Henrik Stenson prediction. Making the Ryder Cup team. So that means you weren't surprised about that.
How about that one?
That's right. So, and we kind of figured the Ryder Cup team on the men's side would go as planned. That what was it? That day, the next day? Then when did we air our last show?
The European picks were coming out just about an hour after we were done, and then Jim Furyk was going to announce his final pick. Well, it turned out to be a day later because of the whole delayed finish, the Monday finish at Aronimink for the BMW Championship. But they all got announced.
Yeah, and so we'll get into the picks and talk more about that. Again, the FedEx Cup field, there's 30 left. No Jordan Spieth, though. I wonder how that's going to pump him up for next year. He's not even a part of the final 30. He's the only big name that's not in the group, right?
Yeah, I think so. Certainly, like if you were to use the U.S. Ryder Cup team as a barometer, he's the only one that didn't get in. He came in number 31 and got pipped by, of all people, Patton Kizzire for the last spot in the field.
Those two wins early in the season sure helped Patton.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, see? So, all right. So, Jordan, but it wasn't an even year. So, watch out for Jordan Spieth next year, right?
Yeah, he's for whatever reason, his odd-numbered years are far better than his even-numbered years. So, and he'll have plenty of time to stew over what went wrong after the Ryder Cup. So, I think we can expect a much better, more refined performance from Jordan next year.
All right, and so the FedEx Cup playoff format, by the way, what we're going to do, too, is we're going to go over all of the picks. Actually, we're going to go over all the players first. We're going to break down everything regarding their chances and all of that, and then we'll go over our picks. So we're going to give you as much detailed information as possible for most of these players and what their chances are, and the players that have a realistic chance of winning the FedEx Cup Championship. So we'll go over the realistic players and let you know what their shot is, and then we'll go into our picks and get more detailed analysis, including the odds to win this event, the Tour Championship. So tell us about this new FedEx Cup playoff format change. Is it exactly what you talked about a couple of weeks ago?
It is pretty much spot on to what we talked about a few weeks ago. You can get rid of the projections. You can get rid of the algorithms in the background. You can get rid of Steve Sands and his whiteboard and all of that. Next year, the official title is called Starting Strokes. But what it essentially is, it's a handicap system. And if you if you get through the first two playoff events and you are leading the FedEx Cup points race, you will start the Tour Championship at 10 under par before you hit a shot. And then from there, it will decrease. The second place will be 9 under par. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the full details. I'm not sure if third place is also 9 under par or if third place is 8 under par. But anyway, eventually it gets down to even par for the guys at the bottom of the barrel. And so for them to win the FedEx Cup, they've got to make up 10 shots on the leader. Now, they've got 72 holes to do it, but that's the new scenario. And it's going to be one leaderboard,
Good.
one trophy. Everybody should understand it. And anybody that's been around golf for any period of time understands the concept of giving strokes. Actually, this was something that was proposed by Joe Ogilvy, who has kind of gone to the background of the tour, was a prominent player, 6 or 7 years ago. But Joe Ogilvy was the first guy that I ever heard propose giving strokes. He suggested a 14-shot advantage for the leader going all the way down. But, hey, close enough. Next year, whoever, if the system was in place this year, Bryson DeChambeau would walk to the first tee on Thursday, 10 under par already.
So it's almost like there's 5 rounds, and we just aren't going to see the first round. That'll be already decided before they go out there and tee it off. So that should make the odds interesting next year for this event. It sure is going to change that up. I don't know. I wonder if they have championship odds available for the Tour Championship, including odds to win the FedEx Cup Championship odds and then the Tour Championship odds. So they've got both of them. And, of course, the FedEx Cup Championship odds are a lot smaller. So, for instance, like the favorites of this event, like a Dustin Johnson and Justin Rose, those types of players, Rory McIlroy, they're like less than 2-1 to win the FedEx Cup Championship. And it's just that's because I guess based on what Justin Thomas did last year, you don't have to win to win it. But next year, that's going to be different. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go ahead and throw out the odds and whether or not they'll have the same odds and they'll break it up with the Vent and FedEx, or they'll just go one number and say here are the odds and here's the odds for the Tour Championship, because whoever wins the Tour Championship is that how it's going to work, or no, right? You could still not win the Tour Championship and win the FedEx, right?
No. This is one scoreboard. If you are,
that's right. Okay.
The Tour Championship 5 strokes off the lead, but you catch the leader and pass him, and say at the end you're at 21 under par, and the FedEx Cup leader going in was at 20, even with his advantage. Well, you win.
Okay.
Whoever finishes with the low aggregate at the end of Sunday at East Lake wins the FedEx. Wins all of it. Wins the tournament, wins the FedEx.
Yeah,
Cup.
so there'll only be odds then for one of the events, and that's it. And then it'll be interesting to see, though, how they are registered. I would think they would be registered pretty much then. I mean, look, you're going to have whoever's going to be at the top is obviously going to wind up being more than likely the favorite, and so forth down the line. It's probably going to be it'll probably be very understandable of who's going to be the favorite and all the way down. But that could make it interesting, because you could get a player, a good player, because just look at Jordan Spieth. He didn't even make the field. So maybe you get a talented player that's sitting there at 8 strokes back, and who knows, maybe the odds will be 40 or 50-1 because of it. It'll be a brand new system. But that player may be more than capable, of course, of making up 8 shots in 4 days. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. What do you think, Brady? We talked about it a few weeks ago. Are you now looking forward to how this is all going to work out next year?
Well, I think they have to come up with a system where the winner of the Tour Championship does win the FedEx Cup. But I just don't know if it's a perfect system, because you take Bryson DeChambeau, who won 2 events in the playoffs and is sitting out in front pretty comfortably. Obviously under this system that would translate into him getting a big advantage strokes-wise at East Lake. But, if, Kevin Na comes from way back in the pack and wins the thing, does he really deserve the FedEx Cup? I don't know if there is a perfect system. So we'll see how it goes. Well,
I wonder, too, have they said whether or not that if you, win 2 or 3 events, that they'll give you, bonus under par or something? Has that even been thrown into the equation, Jeff?
You know what? That's a fair question. And again, we haven't seen the devil in the details. The announcement just came out an hour or so ago.
Okay.
That they are going to this, and I've been looking to see if there's a breakdown as to what the lines are where the lines are drawn as far as how many shots behind. And I'm with Brady. If you have won both playoff events, that's probably worth at least one extra stroke. Maybe Bryson DeChambeau should be starting at 11 under par if the system was in place this year. I'll throw another one out. Is a major championship worth a stroke somewhere in there? You know, Brooks Koepka has two of those things, and maybe this is not the place to do that, because you can tweak the point system, and I do believe the point system needs a good tweak too.
Oh yeah.
To put more emphasis on major championships and World Golf Championships events, but that's another discussion for another time. But I do believe that if you've won both of the previous playoff events, because remember it's only going to 3 events next year, that's probably worth an extra stroke in the system. And I remember I made this argument last year when Bernard Longer had such a fantastic year, and then the points reset gave him no advantage for all the dominance that he had, and their playoff system is 3 events, and he did win the first 2 playoff events and got nothing in terms of bonus out of the reset. So I think that is a fair argument that really ought to be looked into.
What did he get for all of his dominance going into the final event?
It was just your standard reset, just like what they have this week. You know, with DeChambeau, what is it, 500 points or 400 points? Ahead of number 2 Justin Rose. There was no extra for having a dominant season or winning both playoff events.
Okay.
And because of that allowed Kevin Sutherland to come up having not won a Champions event at all last year, but win the last one and win the entire Charles Schwab Cup bonus.
Yeah, well...
I think you have to, you talk about reworking the point system, you know, I think you have to add emphasis on majors and World Golf Championships, like you say, and also top 10 finishes in those events. I mean, look at Bubba Watson. Now, he's 8th in the points standings, which is pretty darn good, and he's a 3-time winner on tour this year. So, you know, FedEx Cup champion, I believe the intention is to have a representative that, you know, has been an annual champion or a representative of what he's done all year. And, you know, I mean, the Patriots don't win the Super Bowl with having a poor regular season, like you're saying with Kevin Sutherland. You know, they're advancing and getting further into a better playoff picture the whole way through the regular season, securing home field advantage, a first-round bye, whatever it is. It seems they need to model it that way a little bit more, so you know what you've done during the regular season is weighted more so when you do get down to the final 30 players, and you know that player that does win the championship is a true representative of a season-long champion.
All right, so tell us, Brady, what do we know about Eastlake? They've been playing here, no interruptions since 2004, 3 previous trips before that. So we do have a lot of data to go on at this particular golf course. Yeah,
it's a Donald Ross design, just like last week at Aronimink. So you've got some similarities there, and we've had some recent Ross designs on tour, too, most recently at Sedgefield, the home of the Wyndham Championship, so you can draw some crossover success from those 2 events. Also, Pinehurst number 2, site of the 2014 U.S. Open. You can look who had success there, and you know, I think we talked about this on your show when we were going into the Wyndham. Some of the players that have had success at Eastlake and Pinehurst and these other Ross designs, and I threw out Brandt Snedeker as a real strong contender, and sure enough, he went on to win. And we've seen Justin Rose have incredible success at Ross designs. He's had 5 straight top 10s at Eastlake and lost in a playoff last week on another Ross design, Aronimink. So you want to look at how these players have done at other Donald Ross designs. What we've seen most recently is basically a tree line fairway situation, par 70, pretty lengthy course that favors ball strikers. You've got to be long and straight off the tee and hit a lot of greens in regulation. And then those shaved off runoff areas around the greens that Ross is famous for, you've got to be real creative in your scrambling. and you've got to putt well as well. So it really takes a well-rounded game, and there's not necessarily anything specific, a skill set, if you will, that probably stands out more than the others.
All right. Now, I know that there's a lot of interesting matchups, just taking a look, and they've had an extra week to throw all these matchups at us. So go ahead. I'm sure you it's like a kid in a candy store checking out all the possible matchups that you could go with this week. So give me some good ones.
Brady. Yeah, they've taken the 30 players and created matchups just about every which way with all of them. And I haven't dug real deep into my final decisions yet, but whoever you think is maybe not going to do well and who might do well, you can probably find a matchup that corresponds. And I did find one with Francesco Molinari and Bryson DeChambeau. DeChambeau cited a bit of fatigue at Aronimink 2 weeks ago, and that's certainly understandable after coming off of 2 wins prior to that. And I think Molinari is kind of catching his stride again. He took a week off to rest and then ended up finishing 8th at the BMW. And really, over the course of the year, I think you can make a case that Molinari has been better than DeChambeau. I mean, they both have multiple wins. DeChambeau just coming as of late, where Molinari kind of did it in the middle of the summer, one of which was a major championship, and that goes back to our argument that maybe he should have more points in the standings for that. But I think this course may suit Molinari better, and he's an underdog in that matchup against DeChambeau, and so I think there's value there. And then the other thing, I think there's a lot more pressure on DeChambeau, sitting atop the FedEx points list and trying to capture that championship. I think he's got more pressure on him than really everybody beneath him.
All right. And what about are you going to predict the winner of this event will win the FedEx Cup Championship? Is that the way you're going to go, or are you going to have 2 completely different picks?
I haven't done that. I haven't gotten into who's going to win the FedEx Championship because I think that's much harder than just trying to pick who's going to win this tournament. I mean, I mentioned Molinari. I think at 20-1, he's pretty good value to win this event. But if he wins, who knows if he wins the Cup? There's another 1,000 scenarios that you have to go through for that to happen. So, if it's anybody other than the top 5, the odds to win the Cup would become astronomical, I would think, because you have increasingly difficult scenarios that have to happen the further down the points list you get. But just to win the event, of course, we talk about Molinari, and Webb Simpson is another guy who's outstanding on Donald Ross designs, and you can find him at about 25-1. And we talked about Bubba Watson, who's won 3 times this year, and he's 40-1. So you look at these guys that are, anywhere from 20 to 40 to 50-1. There's only 30 guys in the field. So that's value on the surface, before we even get started.
Yeah, I mean, are there any of the players like the real deep guys? Like, if you had to pick one guy between Smith, Wise, Stanley, Nahn, Kazire, who would you go after?
I'd probably take a look at Nahn Wise. Wise is really good in total driving, and that's something that you're going to need here, both accuracy and length off the tee. Kevin Na has been leading in the 3 playoff events so far. He is leading the field in strokes gained putting. His short game has been very good, and he comes off of a pretty decent finish at Aronimink. And again, it's 60-1 against only 30 players, or 29 others rather. Those are pretty tasty odds, and I think Wise is about 50-1. So as far as the long shots, I'd take a look at those 2 guys.
Brady, is it time for people to fight their way to Vegas and to schedule tee times at teatimesusa.com?
Yes, that's why I'm late today. I've done quite a few reservations today for this week, next week, on into October and November. Fall is here, the temperatures are dropping, and the phone is ringing like crazy. So we go through a busy season here until about Thanksgiving, and then take a break for the holidays and wind it back up again after the new year and go strong again until next summer.
And when will your picks be available? When can people go to Covers to check out when is a good time to try and get your picks this week?
We'll have them up there tomorrow. Usually they're up by 12 noon Pacific, and this will be my final event for the golf picks for the season. The Ryder Cup is really just very difficult to, as far as head-to-head matchups and futures. It's really limited as far as what you can do there from a betting perspective. So this will be the final event of the year, and we'll start watching football and start doing golf again around the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines next year.
Oh, okay. And so as a fan, though, you're going to get into the Ryder Cup next week?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love watching the Ryder Cup, but it's pretty difficult to bet on. I mean, it's hard enough to pick a matchup between player A and player B, and then you go into the Ryder Cup and you've got 2-on-2. So that really makes it a very difficult handicap. So yes, I will watch and enjoy and root for the U.S. on European soil.
Brady, I want to thank you for joining us this season. It was great to have you on, get your insight, and, of course, all the great work you do at Covers. And we look forward to talking to you again, I guess, in 2019. And we'll make it even more entertaining and educational for our listeners by the time we get around to talking to you again.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me all year long, and you guys enjoy the golf.
Thanks, Brady. That's Brady Cannon. And again, Brady is with Covers Experts at experts.covers.com. Take 50% off any purchase. Use the promo code PRIME50. That's PRIME50. Okay.
Actually, now I have found the new system.
Okay.
So, and the FedEx Cup leader will not get a one-stroke lead heading into the Tour Championship. He will actually get a two-stroke lead. The leader will begin at 10 under par. Second place will begin at 8 under par. Third place at -7. Fourth place at -6. Fifth place at -5. And after that, it's in clusters of 5. So 6th through 10th will start at 4 under par. 11 through 15 will be at 3 under par, and so on and so forth.
And what's the last place guy, is he at even par?
26 through 30 all start at even par.
At even par. Okay, very interesting. And but nothing about getting any sort of, if you win the first two, you're just still getting only a two-stroke lead.
That, from what I can tell, and we know that sometimes these things are still a work in progress.
Sure.
I would hope that somebody would have brought up the Bernhard Langer scenario, and I don't know what may have been asked in Atlanta, but I do think that that's definitely worth considering, because if you win two playoff events, if you win the first two playoff events, because now, again, there's only 3. If you've won the first 2, that should account for something.
Yeah, you would think
when
so.
it comes down to when it comes down to it. And again, if under kind of a different point system that they had with the Charles Schwab last year, but if you had created some sort of bonus, Bernhard Langer still might have finished a handful of points ahead of Kevin Sutherland in that situation.
Okay.
So,
all right. Well, hey, at least we got something new to chew on for next year. And what do you think about the tweak, Joel, from ProGolfWeekly.com? What do you think about the FedEx Cup playoffs, the format next year?
Well, there's going to be a lot more money in it again, so that's always exciting to see these people motivated by even larger amounts. I believe it's $15 million for the whole win now. And it looks like
that's true.
Definitely looks like an interesting setup. I kind of like it. Over the 3 events, having someone had the advantage, and then you don't see a situation like last year. I didn't have a huge problem last year with Thomas taking it, but I can understand why most years they would want the winner of the Tour Championship to win the whole thing. We definitely don't want a Kevin Sutherland, Bernhard Langer thing on the.
No.
But it looks. I haven't seen a lot of the details, but it looks pretty good right now. I like that there's going to be more money in it. I think it's going to be really exciting.
All right. Well,
I'll give you the perfect scenario, and this is from 2011 when Webb Simpson had the points lead going into the finale and ran out of gas on Sunday and had a couple of bogeys, and all of a sudden everybody's in play all the way down to number 27, Aaron Baddeley. And it was fluctuating on every putt. And there's actually a situation, I actually looked this up from what I wrote back then, but there was a situation on the 18th green where Aaron Baddeley parred 18, and it knocked out both Webb Simpson and Luke Donald from winning the FedEx Cup. He knocked out Simpson because he didn't birdie and get into the Bill Haas-Hunter Mahan playoff, and he knocked out Luke Donald because he didn't bogey the 18th. And this was all going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's actually Luke Donald just tweeted a little bit ago saying that he would have won under the current format, under the new format 2011. So he was asking where they should send his check.
Yeah. Maybe to the Champions Tour, where he should be probably head soon, the way he's playing. Okay, so let's maybe he should go back to Europe, maybe build up his reputation again. Okay, so let's. What we're going to do first is we're going to go through the playoff scenarios for the players, and only the ones that have a realistic chance of winning the championships. So if you're ready, Jeff, let's start with the three players who are the favorites: Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, and Rory McIlroy. And we'll just go in that order, and then we'll eventually get to Bryson DeChambeau, who's leading the thing. But let's go in that order. So let's first of all go Dustin Johnson. What does he have to do in order to win the championship? Just win?
Winning would take care of everything.
How many players can just win?
5.
So we're still at 5. It's still 5.
Still
okay.
5. Yes.
So, and who are the 5?
DeChambeau, Justin Rose, Tony Finau, Dustin Johnson, and Justin Thomas. A win from any one of those 5 gives that person the FedEx Cup, no questions asked.
Okay. Now, so let's. So all right. So we know what Dustin Johnson. Okay. So what is Dustin Johnson if he doesn't win? How does he realistically still have a real good chance of winning?
Well, and that's when you get into these 1,000 points of different scenarios. And according to the PGA Tour algorithm, he can win with a second-place finish. He has a reasonable chance of winning with a second-place finish. And he can even finish as low as a 3-way tie for second and still have a mathematical chance of winning if somebody from very low happens to win at Eastlake this week.
All right. So when does it get to a point where it's just like a crapshoot for him, for players like Dustin Johnson?
For Dustin Johnson, I would say that if he finishes outside the top 2, it would be very difficult.
Okay.
But it still depends on who finishes ahead.
All right. So that's pretty much how it is, though, for those players like Dustin Johnson. Like same thing for Rose and McIlroy.
Rose, the only thing that would be different is that his chances of winning remain pretty good if he finishes in the top 3.
Top 3,
and
okay.
as long as he finishes inside the top 9, he will have a mathematical chance of winning. So,
and McIlroy.
And McIlroy now he comes in at number 17, I think it is. Yes, 17. So his situation is completely different. He has to win, and DeChambeau finish no worse than 11th, or no better than 11th, I should say. Justin Rose has to finish no better than 4th. Tony Finau finishes no better than 3rd. Dustin Johnson can't finish anything better than a 3-way tie for 2nd. And Justin Thomas and number 6 Keegan Bradley cannot finish solo 2nd.
So in reality, McIlroy is actually one of those players that doesn't really have a very good chance of winning the FedEx Championship.
Coming from the bottom half of the table is very, very difficult.
Where's the line draw? Where's the line draw in the play? How many players have a reasonable chance, a reasonably good chance, outside the top 5? 6 to what?
6 to... I would say maybe down to number 15 or 16. That's Patrick Reed and Patrick Cantlay, because a lot of this is predicated on what Bryson DeChambeau does as the FedEx
And he could
Cup
do
leader.
anything. That's the real thing. I mean, he could go out there and win the thing, and he could finish 25th, and nobody would be surprised.
And that's absolutely the case. And as I kind of mentioned with the 2011 scenario, that's what happened with Webb Simpson, is he ran out of gas. Now, in this case, we have had the week off. Everybody's coming in with a week's rest. So that should mitigate that type of situation. But when you get to Reed and Cantlay, you need DeChambeau to finish outside the top 10.
Okay.
McIlroy, you need DeChambeau to finish outside the top 11. Those are reasonable. And then everything beyond that is, other guys have to finish outside the top 5 or top 3 or top 2. That's very reasonable. So I look at where the DeChambeau line for this situation would have to be. McIlroy has to, for McIlroy to win, DeChambeau has to be outside the top 11. Schauffele to win at number 18 has to finish outside the top 12, so on and so forth. So I would say, again, all predicated on DeChambeau, but I can see the scenario going down to 17 or 18 with McIlroy and Xander Schauffele. I think anybody after that, you're asking Bryson DeChambeau essentially to finish in the bottom half of the field. Not impossible. But then you also have all of these others with 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 that also have to take place.
All right. Well, how about Tiger?
Somehow I knew you were going to ask that.
He needs a lot to happen.
And he does need a lot to happen, starting with Bryson DeChambeau finishing in the bottom half of the field. Cannot finish better than a tie for 15th. After that, Justin Rose has to finish outside the top 5. Tony Finau has to finish outside the top 3. And then Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, and Keegan Bradley all have to finish outside the top 2.
Okay. Well, even that's, again, the first things first, DeChambeau outside the top 15. And if that happens, then anything's possible. Okay, so, and let's see. So all we have to do is what? So bottom line is we're just looking at obvious. So as far as the standings are concerned, then just run off the players that are outside of that top whatever, behind McIlroy. Who are those players?
Okay, behind McIlroy, as I mentioned, Schauffele at 18. Tommy Fleetwood at 19, Tiger at 20. And then the bottom 10 are Aaron Wise, Kevin Na, Ricky Fowler, John Rahm, Kyle Stanley, Paul Casey, Hideki Matsuyama, Gary Woodland, Mark Leishman, and the aforementioned Patton Kizzire. And I will say this, you can go down to number 23, Ricky Fowler, and they would still have a chance if DeChambeau was not fully recovered from the rest week, perhaps. DeChambeau would have to finish in the bottom third of the field, 20th or worse, but that would let Ricky Fowler at number 23 into the scenario, but he's got to win.
Okay. All right. Well, you have anything, Joel?
I just think I don't mean to jumble up the scenarios even more here, but there's a real team chaos type scenario I'm seeing here. Is if you have someone like Billy Horschel at number 9 win, or if Brady's right, he was talking up Francesco Molinari and say he wins, and then that would be the second win of the year for either of them. Tony Finau finishes solo second, which we could see because he's been in that range every week. Suddenly Finau wins the Cup with no wins on the year. And that's over someone like Horschel who won it. And he's sitting at 9th right now. So that's something I could legitimately see happening. That could be fun.
Oh, well, I don't know if it would be fun. I think it would be It would be a painful reminder that they're doing the right thing for next year's format.
Yes, that might even be better for them.
Yeah, but I don't think anybody wants to see a player win the championship without a win. That's not good. That would be a bad thing. Okay.
It's really interesting that for a lot of years we have had this scenario where somebody in the top 5 comes in with no wins. Last year it was Paul Casey, but usually they're at number 5, and their chances of winning with a second-place finish are really, really remote. But this year, the guy without the win is Tony Finau, and he's sitting there at number 3, and he can be a real fly in the ointment here this week.
All right, let's go ahead and make our picks. Let's see, Joel, last pick, and it's good that you got the first pick. So you get the first choice. You're last in our standings. You need a win to save face, and you could still turn it around with a big win, depending on where you want to go, what the odds are. So it's all up to you how you want to handle it. But which way you're going to go? Who's your top choice? Once again, DJ Rose and McIlroy are the favorites at 9-1. Justin Thomas 11-1. Koepka Woods 12-1. So those are your 6 favorites for the Tour Championship.
I will say this. I'm going to throw this out, Joel. You can get back to even if you hit on Cameron Smith, Kyle Stanley, Aaron Wise, or Kevin Na.
With your first pick. And you could actually, could he actually beat me if he picks Patton Kizzire as his first pick?
I hadn't punched that one into my calculator.
That feels pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I think so.
Kizzire's been in the top 40 in like 3 or 4 months now.
250-1 for Patton Kizzire with only 30 players in the field. Okay. I'm sure Jordan Spieth feels good about that. Okay, so Joel, forget about getting even in the picks. That's sailed. Let's just try to end the season on a winning note. So pick the winner of the Tour Championship.
That's what I'm thinking too. I'd like to get close to even, but I'll try to remember last season when I finished really well and try to keep focused on my stuff. But right now it seems really hard to pick against Justin Rose the way he's been playing all year. He's finally number 1 now. He's just been one of the consistently best golfers over the past 12 months. But still, I don't quite see it happen for him. I think we're going to see Brooks Koepka pull this off. Both win the tournament and the whole thing.
How does he do that, Jeff?
So he's in the 7th position right now. So all he would need. He would just need DeChambeau would have to not finish. If DeChambeau finishes in the top 2, there has to be at least 2 other people tied with him, and Rose would not have to could not be solo second.
I'm glad this thing is over because I'm confused every time you guys talk about this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah,
so,
I just confused myself talking about that.
It's ridiculous.
I think what I said made sense in my head, sort of. But
so Koepka could win it as long as DeChambeau doesn't finish second, basically?
Basically, it's DeChambeau and Justin Rose have to finish outside the top 2.
Okay, that's not bad. I mean, that's pretty much win, and you're going to win.
I really do like Koepka in this kind of format. He's killing it off the tees lately. His putting has not been there lately, but we know he can putt well in these big spots. And I think maybe that week off is something that would help him quite a bit. He finished real well at this tournament last year. He obviously is good in these real big events too. I think that 10 million number and all that. I don't know. I can't shake the feeling. I think it's gonna be his week.
All right, Brooks Koepka is the pick for Joel at 12-1 to win the Tour Championship, and Koepka has played there twice at East Lake, 6th last year, 18th 3 years ago. All right, Jeff. So that means you still have Dustin Johnson, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy at 9-1 to choose from, or even Justin Thomas at 11-1, or the story of the century, Tiger Woods at 12-1.
I will say this: you take a look at the tournament winners at East Lake. It does not. This is not a course that caters necessarily to bombers. It's an older Donald Ross course. That's a little tighter, and it's not that they can't. Tiger Woods has won there, Rory McIlroy has won there, but
Koepka's won 2 U.S. Opens.
But it is not a long golf course as compared to a U.S. Open golf course. The Xander Schauffele's and Bill Haas and and Jordan Spieth, who is not a bomber. Brandt Snedeker, Jim Furyk. Those are the guys that
they're
are
not here.
more likely. They're not there, but when
Yeah.
they won the FedEx Cup, they used Eastlake to their advantage.
Okay.
So out of that whole group at the top, the one who isn't necessarily that much of a bomber also happens to be number 2 in FedEx Cup points, and has been runner-up at Eastlake twice before. I will take Justin Rose at 9 to 1.
All right, and I'm glad you did, because I didn't want to have to take Justin after what he did to me 2 weeks ago. So honestly,
He's not happy about it either.
Well, that's okay. He's rich. Look, great players, great teams tend to very, very rarely still choke. They don't do it often, but they do. But it's tough when you see it happen, and there's no excuse for what Justin Rose did 2 weeks ago. That was a major choke job. I'm sure he knows it. I don't know what kind of comments he made. He might as well have just come out there and told the world I choked, because he did. You cannot have the ball sitting there in the middle of the fairway, and all you need to do is par the 18 and bogey, and then come back on the overtime hole, and all you have to do is par to get to the next playoff and bogey that. So I was shocked that he fell apart like that for somebody that I've never seen fall apart like that before.
I do worry
It's
about
been a long
his
time.
being number 1. I mean, what kind of pressure that's going to put on. He's a mature player, but he's just a guy with one major. He's a lot of high finishes, but I don't know. I think he'll be great this week. I have a hard time seeing him with that pressure of being number 1. I think it's a lot.
Well, look, it's going to define. It could very well define the rest of his career if he can't wrap this up, and if he's in contention, or even if he's not, because he's going to look back at what his chances could have been. But especially if he's in contention, if he's sitting there, he's on top of the leaderboard or right there on Sunday, and he can't close the deal. People are going to talk, and that's something he's going to have to deal with. So we'll see. We'll see if Justin, though, maybe he's got the steely grit that he can get over it, and he could prove everybody of what kind of a champion he is. Because again, there is a big difference, and I think this is also important for Rose, like you were saying about being number 1. I think the reason that's important for me is because Rose has got just one major. There's a lot of players that are mediocre players that have a major. So, okay, yeah, he's won a gold, whatever. But you've got a major, one. So now go out, win a win a FedEx Cup championship, and prove to everybody that you are at another level, and that you'll be number 1. And that would just be a huge changing moment for him and his reputation. And if he doesn't, it's the opposite. And that's how big this week is going to be. So we'll see if he can put it together. He's been in second place the last 2 events. And he's also played pretty well here over his last 5. All top 10s and 2 runner-ups. So yeah, Rose is a very solid pick this week. Look, I can't take Dustin Johnson with the top pick. I just got a feeling that there's something wrong with Dustin Johnson. I don't know why.
Paulina's gone. I think that's what's wrong.
What's that?
He lost Paulina.
You think? I mean, it could be.
That's what the rumor mill is.
Well, I mean, she has acted kind of strangely on social media, hasn't she, Jeff? Have you noticed any of that?
She has, and so much so that Dustin's agent had to come out and say, no, they're doing a certain amount of editing and cultivating the social media part of it, but that don't read too much. Of course, we're all going to read too much, but hey.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, because didn't she take down his photos or something like that?
Yeah, he's not on her Instagram anymore.
Is that what
and
it is?
It's
Instagram.
Interesting that
Okay.
she didn't leave a 1. That's why this is all swirling around.
She didn't do what?
She didn't leave a single photo of Dustin Johnson on her Instagram.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing.
And he still has her
He is
photos?
rubbed.
He has no social media presence.
Huh. Okay. And they were engaged.
As far as we know, still are.
Okay.
I've not read where they're not anymore. How's that?
All right. I
They've
don't know.
been engaged for like a decade.
I know.
though.
That's why I thought they were married already. I can't even believe that they were still engaged. I mean, that has seemed like it's gone on for a long time. Okay. Let's see what to do. I've got a couple of possibilities. See, with Rory, I definitely feel a lot better with Rory than I do with Dustin. But with and Rory's been here before. I feel that he can do it. I still wonder about. There still seems though to be something missing from his game, but Rory does have that little extra something in him. Where when these, like you were just mentioning with Koepka, Joel, Rory, we know has that as well, and he's playing well enough now that I think the extra added dimension of it's time to step up and be a champion, and Rory's proven he could be that guy outside of Augusta. He's proven he could be that guy anywhere else pretty much. That's that extra thing that says, I think he'd be the way to go. So I'm going to go ahead and take Rory. And I haven't taken Rory a lot as my top pick this year. But I'll go ahead and take him and think that maybe that's the big difference in him in wrapping up a second FedEx Cup championship in 3 seasons, which would also be the same year that the Ryder Cup is. So maybe there's something to that. All right, Joel. So now you are available if you would like to take Mr. Dilched Dustin Johnson, or Justin Thomas is another one of these Rory McIlroy players that can just go out there and win the big ones. And then there's Tiger. So any of those players, or are you going to go dip down a little bit further and maybe go after your boy Tony Finau?
Finau's tempting. JT is too. There's some talk about a wrist injury with him that just came down a little bit ago on JT. He's expected to play, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to make the pick here. I'm taking Tiger. I don't know. It would just be such an incredible ending to this season. I know we still have the Ryder Cup, but he's not just. It's not just a great story. I mean, he's looked good. He had that opening round 62 last time. He had to finish 66, 65. He's been great in some of these high pressure. He's a couple of high finishes in majors. I wish he was better at 12-1, but he's Tiger. You're never getting better odds than that.
No, not the way he's playing. No.
Yeah, I'm going to double up on the 2 12-1s. I got Koepka. I'll take Tiger. And they're both kind of bombers, although Tiger's had to change a lot about his game. But I don't know. I could see it happening with Tiger. He's going to need about a million things to happen to win the Cup, but it'll be fine. Either way.
Well,
it
gets reasonable if DeChambeau doesn't play well. So there's some possibilities there.
But it's just been such an unreal season for him. I think it'd be. I don't know. It would just be so cool to see that. I don't know if that means anything, but it just would.
All right. So Tiger is your and really, Jeff, with Tiger, it seems like the one thing that's missing the most, which is strange because we would think, what's the one issue with Tiger? Oh, it's got to be off the tee. It's got to be his driving accuracy. But no, the one thing in this stretch is when he's playing his best right now has been his putting. That's what's been letting him down.
Yeah, and that's the nature of golf. You shore up one part of your game, and the time that you devote to shoring up that part of the game has to come out of somewhere usually, and it's been that kind of flip-flop for Tiger all year. When he putts well, his driving seems to disappear, and when he gets his driving under control, the putter has been an issue, and he's gone back and forth. He's used at least 3 different model putters this year. Having said that, he is a former winner at East Lake, and in fact holds the course record, tournament record there. And so, as long as he remembers those greens, and I'm sure he will have spent a certain amount of time reacquainting himself. Tiger Woods was on my list too.
All right, so go ahead, Jeff. You've got Justin Rose as your top pick. So who are you going to go with next? DJ's available, Justin Thomas. And then we get into the threesome of 18-1s, DeChambeau, Fowler, and Finau.
I know that the wrist is not 100%, but Justin Thomas, his performance in 2 appearances at Eastlake has been pretty darn good, even though he hasn't won. Finished 1 shot behind Schauffele last year, and he's the kind of guy that can get hot and get streaky. So I'll roll the dice and put Thomas in this slot at 11-1.
All right. So, look, that's a good one. Just the same reason I went with McIlroy. You know, again, Thomas may not be playing right now his best golf. No top 5s in the FedEx Cup playoffs, but he's a player that can just come up like he did at, the WGC, and just go out there and have a big week. WGC, right? That was the one he played well.
Bridgestone, yeah.
Bridgestone, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got Rory as my first pick. You know, I'll go ahead and take I don't want to call him an oldie, but an oldie for this season in a way, because it just still seems like it was a while ago, but it really wasn't. But he won for me at the Open Championship, and I'll take it. Francesco Molinari at 25-1. He seems to maybe be rounding back into shape. He's had more times off. He's had a few weeks off in between, so that shouldn't be an issue. He's had an incredible year. And I think pressure-wise, I don't think that's going to be something that's going to affect him. So I'll take Molinari at 25-1, a player that is very good off the tee. So even though he's never played here before, this course you would think would fit him. Okay, Joel, you got Koepka and Tiger. Who is your third choice? We told you who's left on the board, including your boy Finau. You've also got Matsuyama at 20-1. Day and Fleetwood are at 25-1. Horschel, Rahm, Simpson, and Schauffele. Another one of yours, Schauffele there, the defending champ at 28-1. Before we get to the long shots, which we've deduced down to 40-1 or higher this week.
Well, a little tempted by a Fleetwood who I had last time, but he's just so up and down. He'll just look so incredible for a round or two, and then he always has that one round that prevents him from really pulling through. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I took him a million times this year. I'm gonna do it again. Tony Finau. He's got to win one of these at some point. But in 12 playoff rounds, he hasn't yet posted one that wasn't under par. He's been double digits under par in all 3 rounds. He's undeniably talented. He's a good fit everywhere. Hopefully the pressure being off a little of not having to audition for Furyk anymore might put him over the edge.
It could also be a bad thing.
It could be.
But, hey, you've taken him enough. You might as well take him one more time, because if you don't take him and he wins the damn FedEx Championship, you're not going to sleep well on Sunday night.
No. If I miss him the 1 week he finally pulls through, I'm not going like that.
No. So good choice taking Finau at 18-1, 8th, 4th, and 2nd so far in the FedEx Cup playoffs. And again, winning, he's in. What a career year that would signify. If he could win the FedEx and go to the Ryder Cup all in the same year, he might have to pinch himself. Jeff, you've got Rose and Thomas as your first 2 picks. Who are you going with?
There are 3 players in this field that won the last time they were at Eastlake. The easy one is Xander Schauffele. Can you name the other 2?
Joel? The last time that they were at Eastlake.
Last time they were at Eastlake?
No, I guess Joel can't do it.
No, off the top of my head.
Well, you have one, Greg, because Rory McIlroy missed last year but won in 2016. The other one is Billy Horschel, who has not been to Eastlake since he did the Gator Chomp in front of a bunch of Bulldog fans
good call.
in 2014. But he's playing extremely well this year. Got himself in, and I think that this is the type of course that actually suits Billy Horschel's style. He's actually in a little bit of deep metrics, but he actually leads the playoffs in what they call adjusted scoring, whatever that means. But he's playing well. And it's an either-or situation. I'm going to take Billy Horschel in this scenario.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I've grabbed him a few times towards the end of the season. I mean, the only reason I was even hesitating to take him this time was just the odds of him winning. And what are his? What does he have to do to win the FedEx?
Fair amount. He is, I believe he comes in, ninth. So
ninth's not
obviously
bad.
he needs to win Deschambault has to finish outside the top 3, and
That's good.
Rose and Finau have to finish outside the top 2.
Oh, that's good. So yeah, see, Horschel, like if he was one of those players that was win, but no chance to win the thing. I think those odds would be better for me. I'm gonna have a hard time believing Billy Horschel is gonna win 2 FedEx Cup championships. He'd be like Eli Manning, doesn't do anything except except twice in his career for a month. That would be Billy Horschel, the next Eli Manning. All right, so yeah, why not? Again, like I said, I picked him several times over the last few events for a reason, because he is hot. 6 top 35s in his last 7, including 3 top 5s and a runner-up, 3rd at the BMW and the Northern Trust. And like you said, he's played, not only did he win in 2014, he was 7th in 2013. I'm going to go with Webb Simpson as my 3rd choice. Webb has a couple top 5s and 5 trips here to East Lake, 6th at the BMW. He's had his best season in a while, so I think maybe he gets redemption and gets his FedEx Cup championship after all. I'll take Webb Simpson at 28-1 as my 3rd choice. Joel, long shot time, 40-1 or higher, and the contenders. Now I mentioned the deep guys with Brady, so the contenders at 40-1 or higher. You got Bubba, Cantlay, Casey, Reed. Then 50-1, you got Keegan coming off the win at BMW. You got Phil, you got Woodland, and then Leishman's at 55-1. So those are your main contenders as far as long shots to win this event. So who are you going to go with?
I actually don't like a lot of what's there. Patrick Reed, is he just going to show up next week? I don't know what his plan is. He's never been good at East Lake either. I really want to take. It's between Phil. I know Phil had that just absolutely abysmal start.
Yeah, what do we take from that? Because he seemed to be going into the BMW playing well after that final round the week before. What do we take out of the way he played at the BMW?
I mean, he bounced back pretty well, but that was when all the pressure was off. The thing with him, though, I think he's just going to be upset that people are. He's not like that people are saying that maybe he didn't deserve that last spot on the team. It wasn't the last spot; it was one of the other captain's picks. But he finished out pretty well. He was playing well in the other couple of rounds going into that too. He had that 63 at the last round of the Deltec. 368. Actually, I'm still on myself on him right now. I think, I'll do it. It's between him and Wise for me.
Okay.
I know rookies. We saw last year a rookie can win. Can that happen 2 years in a row? Possibly. Wise looks really good right now. But
sure, that would be interesting. Why not? Nobody thought Schauffele could win a tour championship.
Yeah, I just think Phil's going to be really motivated by the talk that he's going to be a weak link on the U.S. team.
That's a good point.
He won't look good.
That's interesting. Okay. He hasn't played here since 2016. He finished 22nd. We'll see how Phil goes into this week's event as a big 50-1 number, Jeff. So your long shot, who's it going to be? By the way, how's Paul Casey? He withdrew from the last event. I know he hasn't been playing his best golf, but he's here, and he's been fantastic at this venue. All top 5s, right?
This is one of those courses that really does fit his style. In fact, he had the sole 54-hole lead last year, which was kind of created the whole storyline. Is Paul Casey, who did not win last year, is he going to be the guy that comes in and steals the FedEx Cup with his first win of the season? Didn't happen. But
is he healthy? Do we know he's healthy after withdrawing from the BMW?
He's dealing with a back issue right now. Not anything serious.
So we don't. So nobody knows really. It'll be up to.
I think it was a certain amount precautionary at the BMW Championship because not only does he want to play well at East Lake, but the bigger thing is that he's finally back on a Ryder Cup team. He hadn't been in the Ryder Cup, I believe, since 2008.
Got it.
He wants to perform well for that, and so. Considering that he's just middle of the pack in the FedEx Cup, I think his focus is going to be more on the Ryder Cup. But he's here, and as you say, he plays very, very well. at Eastlake.
You would think that Bjorn would have talked to him quite a bit before making him one of those picks, make sure that he's really healthy, because those were all some really important picks.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I would think so. And
yeah,
then
I don't think he would play this week. If he wasn't feeling well.
Right. And as far as Bjorn's concerned, he's got a few walking wounded that he's going to have to manage very well in Paris, because he's got Casey's back and Stenson's elbow, and there's one more that doesn't come to mind. Well, he's got to manage Sergio Garcia, however he chooses to manage Sergio Garcia. So a few things that Bjorn has to think about. I'm going to stay away from Paul Casey in this situation. I'm going to go with a guy that's got a pair of top 3 finishes and is in the top 10 in points, and he's a big long shot. And considering that Xander Schauffele won last year in his first visit to East Lake, I'm going to roll. I don't know how much of a dice roll it is, but Cameron Smith is going to be my pick.
Wow, that is a big dice roll. I mean, he's in the bottom 5 completely, and he's playing it for the first time. He's coming up for 65th at the BMW. So yeah, I would put Cameron Smith. I mean, he's in the bottom 5 for a reason. So if he wins, it would be a big surprise, no question about it. But
he's got a shot too. I think he's 10th in the rankings. Yeah, he's 10th in the rankings. He's got a decent chance if he wins to win the whole thing.
Yeah, he is. Thanks to those pair of third-place finishes, he is 10th in the FedEx Cup standing.
Yeah, you see, that's something I think they should. Again, that's another thing I would rather see them tweak. I think it's important. I mean, everybody always in every sport talks about how the long duration of a regular season should mean more. Cameron Smith didn't have a great regular season. And he comes in and he has back-to-back thirds, and now he's in a good spot to win the whole thing. So, I don't know. But that's why I think
we can call him Mr. September. Yeah,
we could do that. All right. I've got down to 2 guys here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to roll the dice, maybe Billy Horschel style, and take Keegan Bradley at 50-1 and see if he could pull that off with back-to-back wins to end the FedEx Cup playoffs. All right, Joel, you first alternate in case somebody has a toenail replacement before they have to tee off on Thursday between Koepka, Woods, and Finau. Who are you going to go with as your alternate?
Well, I don't think I can take Tommy Fleetwood ever again. He's just so frustrating to have anything on. But, I'm going to make another unsurprising pick. Xander is actually a pretty good fit for this field. We saw that it wasn't too big for him last year. He's a good shot maker. He played very well last week. I've used him as an alternate quite a bit this year.
Yeah.
I think he's a guy I think is dependable if someone one of my starters.
Well, I mean, it would be like Xander Schauffele to win the Tour Championship again.
It would be.
It really would.
Yeah, then they'd have to look back at the Ryder Cup picks. I mean, they couldn't, but it'd be an interesting debate.
All right, Jeff, you've got Rose, Thomas, and Horschel. Who's your alternate?
I mean, there's a lot of guys with some upside, but the guys that are left obviously are left for a reason. There are red flags with all of them.
Well, let's see. We got DJ. We've got DeChambeau.
Yeah, and DJ just has never played. DJ's never played well at East Lake. And DeChambeau, the number 1 seed, has never played well at East Lake for whatever reason, even when it was guys like DJ and Jason Day.
What is that, like a March Madness trend?
The
number 1 seed has never played well at the Tour Championship.
It's really been a struggle. I think
Pressure.
McIlroy
might
have been the one guy to bust that. So this is kind of a dice roll, and he seems to be trending well. And he's spent a lot of time in Georgia and has played reasonably well at East Lake. I'll put Bubba Watson as the alternate at 40-1.
Yeah, well, no, that's a good pick. That was actually my my alternate long shot play. I took Bubba last time out, and he has been playing better. So I've been leaning towards Bubba the last few events, and he does seem to be picking things up again. So maybe he's eyeing this championship, which would be big. And 40-1 is a big number for a player that's won 3 times this year.
Yes,
that's not a bad get at 40-1. Definitely good value. All right, I've got it down to Ricky or DeChambeau. It's between one of the two. I'll go with Ricky. Why not? I'm not so sure Ricky's going to win the FedEx Cup championship, but I'll now that he's never particularly played well here, and Ricky definitely has to. You know what could be interesting is, did you catch in the interview 2 weeks ago when he was coming off the injury, and he was talking about, now I don't know specifically if you guys caught it, and maybe you can better explain it, but just I can interpret it where, and we've talked about this before, and we know this to be a fact, when players get hurt and they all of a sudden have to compensate, sometimes it helps their game. And that's kind of what Ricky was saying 2 weeks ago, is something about how by compensating for the injury, it was keeping his, and I think it was his iron shots. It was keeping his iron shots straighter or something like that. And I was like, well, if that's the case, well, then why don't you just make sure you hit the ball like that from now on?
That's always the situation. And typically what it is, and I'm going to guess this is the explanation, particularly with an oblique injury, is you cannot turn nearly as far without putting some strain on that oblique. So what he has done is that he's probably going to more of a three-quarter turn, which will cut back on the margin of error, so to speak, in getting back to the proper square when you strike the ball. So he's taken a shorter backswing, and he's probably taking a shorter follow-through so as not to put extra pressure on that oblique. But you lose some power in that situation, no question about it. But you may compensate with better accuracy.
All right. Well, I'd also I'd still enjoy a golf club toss, maybe in East Lake itself. If I can get Ricky to toss his club into East Lake, it's somewhere in the first couple of rounds, maybe he'll win this tournament. Okay, Joel, your alternate long shot pick, your last pick of 2018.
Well, it was between Mickelson and Wise for me before. Wise is still there, so I'll take it. He's playing too well lately, I think, to have the third worst odds in the field. I know he's a rookie, but he's won an NCAA championship before. He looks really mature on his win earlier this year. When he gets on a streak, we've seen some good things from him, and I like where his game's headed this year.
All right, Jeff, you've got Cameron Smith as your long shot. So who's your alternate? You've already got Bubba.
Here's where I'll slot Casey at 40-1.
Take a chance. Why not? 40-1, the way he's playing on this golf course. And again, I think we all agree that if he's going to be out there, he's going to be healthy. He is going to do nothing to screw up his health for the Ryder Cup. So, all right. And that leaves me to decide whether I take one of these vagabonds that's left or double up on someone. Let's see. Don't like the way Patrick Cantlay is trending. It's not a good, and 20th last year is not good either. Reed, as you said, Joel, hasn't played well here on this golf course, and he actually hasn't played well lately either. He doesn't have a top 5 since the U.S. Open. So, Gary Woodland, nah, he'll choke.
He doesn't even have a top 15 since, I think his best finish was, he was tied 19th recently. But Reed, he's not looking good going into the Ryder Cup. He'll pick it up there, but.
Well, I'll just to put it on the board and get it over with. I'll double up with Bubba at 40-1. I just think he's too good of a value, so I'll go that route. And the players we did not take. So none of us trust Dustin Johnson with his love life in the crapper. Let's see. None of us trust the pressure of being the number one seed for DeChambeau. Matsuyama just hasn't been playing good enough long enough. So for him to win this thing would be a pretty much big shock for him to come out and do that. Day is another one that just hasn't been playing well enough. He doesn't have a top 5 in forever. We've been down the inconsistencies of Tommy Fleetwood. And I guess the last name on the list is a guy that has been downright awful in the FedEx Cup playoffs, and that's Jon Rahm. So, surprised he's been playing that poorly?
Yeah. Well, no, I think that he's still kind of getting used to where he is, and obviously he's got a challenge this week to keep his focus on East Lake and not look ahead to Paris. Of course, you didn't mention the guy that's actually leading the playoffs in strokes gained putting that none of us bothered to take.
Kevin Na. Well, no top 15s and 5 trips to East Lake will do it.
Yeah.
But he is a different player now. He's got a win. And so, you would think that could take some of the pressure off him at the final event of the season. So, yeah, it's 80-1. So it's definitely not the worst idea in the world. I would trust Kevin Na a lot more now than I did before he won. And we've had a few players who ended their droughts this season, didn't we? Keegan Bradley just ended his drought since 2012. I forget when it was when he had won.
Paul Casey had a long one.
Casey had a long one. That was, I forget, but Na was 2011. All right, so Ryder Cup is next week, and we'll be on the air next week to preview the Ryder Cup. And who knows, whether or not we'll, because after that we've got the 2019 season just picks up very next week, right? What's that event that kicks off the 2019 season?
That'll be the Safeway Open back in California wine country up in Napa, which you may or may not recall, but after the final putt dropped on Sunday last year, they had a wildfire that actually roared through and caught part of that golf course, or at least the grandstands for that golf course, on fire. So I think it was announced earlier this year that a lot of the proceeds for that golf tournament this fall are going to go help people get back on their feet after the wildfires of last year.
By the way, I have some of these. I've saved some of these futures from the beginning of the season. Not sure if you remember I did this, or we did this. Who will win a major? Okay. You guys had to pick 2 players. Who will win a major this season? Jeff, do you remember who your 2 players were?
I can't remember breakfast 2 days ago.
Jason Day and Justin Rose. Joel, do you remember who your 2 players were?
I do not.
Jon Rahm and Tommy Fleetwood. Who will win 2 majors? Now, again, these are if who was your pick, Jeff, to win 2 majors? Of course, the odds were bigger.
Yeah. Well, if my one major was
no, it wasn't
Rose,
either one of them.
It wasn't either one of those.
Because you were basing them on odds too, possibly.
Yeah.
Because Day and Rose to win 1 major were 4 and 5 to 1 respectively, where this player that you picked was 11 to 1 to win 2 majors.
My guess would be that it was Dustin Johnson.
No, it was Rory.
No. Rory. Okay.
Now, Joel, you're not going to like this one at all. Do you know who your player was?
I fear it was Jordan Spieth.
It was Jordan Spieth. Yes, it was at 11 to 1. So I don't even. Yeah. So let alone, I think he needed to get into a top 10, let alone a major, 2 majors this year. So, yeah. But you'll get him next year. That's his odd number year. Let's see what else here. Do I have anything else here? I think that's it. So let's see who to win a major. Look at the odds here. Anybody here? No, we didn't. I only gave it. Actually, it's funny because the players that I gave you a choice with, none of them won a major this year. No, wait, they did. The guy who was the biggest long shot in the group I gave you guys, which was Woods, Day, Fowler, Matsuyama, Rahm, Rose, Fleetwood, Casey, And the guy with the longest odds in that group at 12-1 was Patrick Reed. And then who will win 2 majors? Let's see. DJ was 10-1, and McIlroy Spieth 11-1. So, matter of fact, none of these players. I don't think. Yeah, none of these players won a major because I didn't have Reed in here.
Did they have odds on Koepka winning 2 majors?
No.
Or was that just too far out?
Who knows what it? No, was he injured at the time? Probably, right? Because when we were doing this, he was probably
Depends on
hurt.
when you did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that.
He ended up missing the Masters.
We might not have put him in the group because he was hurt, and we had no idea if he was going to be healthy. So why put him in the group? So we probably didn't even. Yeah. So Koepka, Molinari, and Reed, right? That's what it was. Okay. All righty. So yeah, there was no Molinari, no Koepka. But anyway, that's always fun to find out how stupid our answers are by the end of the year. Okay, so we will be talking Ryder Cup next week. You going to do any Ryder Cup stuff at Pro Golf Weekly, Joe?
We'll definitely be previewing it. Mine should be pretty in-depth. We'll have that early in the week.
All right. Well, let us know what you're doing, and we'll talk about it next week because it's definitely a little bit more confusing than a normal event. So we definitely have to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of it. And it begins on Friday?
2 sessions on Friday,
it could be
2
more
sessions
confusing
on
than going
Saturday.
through Tour Championship scenario.
No, nothing's more confusing than this week's event. That's for sure. And as far as, what is it, France?
Yes.
It's in France. Oui. So France
Le
starting
Golf National.
on a Friday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So what does that time difference mean?
It's about a 6 or 7 hour time difference. I can tell you, Golf Channel is going to. I did have it here. Where'd it go? Golf Channel will start at 2 a.m. and carry it through until the broadcast is supposed to sign off at 1 o'clock each day.
Wow.
So,
Kickoff.
Yeah, basically. So
Overtime at the Ryder Cup. I wonder what kind of ratings what would that do to the ratings for both sports if it went to like 1:30 or 2 o'clock on a Sunday? That could be interesting.
Well, remember that on the Sunday it's a single session and it's 12 singles matches. And I'm sure built into that broadcast window is plenty of time to
celebrate,
have all the champagne-soaked interviews that they need to have.
That's
so
true. That's
my
good.
guess is that it would finish closer to noon Eastern
That's
time.
good. That'll work. That's a good thing for both college and pro football. So that's good, though. That gives us a lot to watch when we wake up. Set our DVRs, or at least I will, and I can run through a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll talk about it coming up next week, probably Tuesday. We might as well stick with that time slot. If we change it, we'll let you know. Like we did today, we moved it to 6. That'll wrap it up. Joel, appreciate it. We'll talk Ryder Cup. I mean, there's no goodbye, Joel. So there's no 2-month layoff. We're just going to talk again next week, and then the week after that, and then the week after that. So
we had our break.
Yeah, our break is over. Our 1-week break for the season is over, Joel. So get ready for 51 more weeks starting now.
Yeah, I like it that way.
It gives you more chances to win, right?
That's true, yes.
Okay. Thanks, Joel. Talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, that's Joel Cook. Jeff, appreciate it as always. And I will talk to you next week. So enjoy the golf, and we will chat next week and preview the Ryder Cup. Should be a lot of fun. We'll go over not only the odds, which will be kind of easy because it's pretty much an even number now, but most importantly, we'll go over matchups. That should be a lot of fun. We'll take a look at the odds for the matchups and all sorts of props, and we'll try to make it as fun as possible for everybody out there listening. And, of course, you can go to covers.com for additional assistance and covers experts as well. Don't forget about the bonus. If you go to experts.covers.com, Prime50 is the bonus code. Again, Prime50. So that'll wrap it up for the 2018 season on Prime Sports Golf with Brady Cannon, Jeff Shane, and Joel Cook. You can follow us on Twitter at PrimeSN. We'll see you next Tuesday to wrap up the 2018 season, preview the Ryder Cup, and more on Prime Sports Golf on the Prime Sports Radio Network. You know the drill. Alpha Mike Foxtrot.